I'm gonna drop a couple bombs on the FD channel right now.
Who are you rolling?
I am rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
Let's do it. Let's go.
We are rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
You know we rolling with FD, baby.
We got alphas and bros in the house.
That's right. Peace out, my brother.
Woo!
I'm rolling with the F to the D.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
You
I
gotta
love
love
this,
it,
man.
man.
This is a family thing.
That's good. That's good.
Hey, Renee, who you rolling with?
Rolling with FD.
Hey, Matt.
Rolling with FD.
C. Bless, who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
That's how you just rolling, right? That's the whole thing, right? You roll with it.
You gotta let me know who you rolling with.
We're rolling with FD. You heard it first.
I'm rolling with FD.
I am rolling with FD.
I'm not just a pretty face, Ziggy. JD, we should both do it.
No, I'm not doing that.
What questions do you have for me? All right, Manny and Jeremy, who you rolling with?
We're rolling with FD. We don't want to get our asses kicked.
You gotta let the people know who you rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing? Monday, May 15th. And 2023 is moving by. But I got a special guest here tonight that we've had on before. And we're going to get his perspective on quite a few things. Sam Rothstein.
FD, how you doing, my man?
What's going on, bro?
Not much. It's good to see you. I feel like it's been forever. Almost a year, actually, since we last saw each other.
Mm-hmm.
At the very first ever Burbank show.
Yes. Saw each other live and in person.
That's right.
You met everyone.
I met the whole crew.
The
Yes,
whole crew,
absolutely. My wife says hi, by the way.
Right, please tell her that we all say hello.
Absolutely, I will do that for sure.
So before we got on here, we were talking about Golden State Warriors, and then Jordan Poole came up.
Yep.
So the question is, how does a guy go to the playoffs after having a decent playoff run and almost completely disappear?
Yeah, I think. Well, last year, I believe his role was a lot smaller than it was going to be this year, right? Or that it was meant to be, especially after the Wiggins injury.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was sort of shoved into a position that he wasn't comfortable with, or I think more likely it wasn't experienced with yet.
Yes.
And so, you have that championship caliber team. Obviously, they won last year. And, he was asked to kind of come in and not even lead the second unit, but sort of be the main scorer of the second unit.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, oftentimes he was on the court with Steph or Clay.
Yes.
Or Wiggins for that matter. And so he didn't have to carry a super heavy load. And so I think there was a little bit of anxiety this year. I think not necessarily in the regular season, but certainly when the playoffs came around. And I think it was most evidently manifested in that shot at the end of that game. I can't remember which game it was, but you know what I'm talking about. The game, I think it was game 1 against the Lakers, right? Is that what it was?
I think it was game 1, yeah.
Yeah. It was just very clearly like a rush shot. Like he wanted the big moment, but he wasn't quite ready for the big moment yet. So I'm not necessarily worried about him as a player, but I think that he was a much more important cog to their team this year than he was last year. And he just wasn't quite experienced enough to come through in those moments.
Well, I watched a lot of tape, so I'm watching some older footage of Steph, 2015, 2016. I'm watching him against Dellavedova with Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
He's behind the back. He's razzle-dazzle sometimes. He's popping the three. I was like, man, that's what Jordan Poole wants to be.
But he's not.
Steph's three went in.
Yeah, right. That's the problem. Is he's got a perfect role model for what he wants his game to be, but he's not quite there yet. And I think I was watching NBA and TNT a couple months ago, and I think Charles Barkley put it really well. Is Steph and to a lesser extent Damian Lillard kind of changed the way, and James Harden. I should put James Harden in there. They kind of changed the way the game is played, where they extended what most people thought was a reasonable shot perimeter.
Yes.
By about almost 10 feet. and so all of a sudden then you have to defend after that. Well, the counter to that is now you have all these players who aren't Steph and Dame and James Harden jacking up really bad threes. And so I think that's sort of plagued the league in a way. I think Trae Young is a perfect example. Like sometimes it works for him, but this year he actually shot pretty poor.
Yes.
And so like you have this thing where like, yes, certain players you do have to guard out to that level, but there's also these other players that are now trying to do that, and they're not quite at that skill level yet. So I think Jordan Poole is kind of in that category where like that's what he wants his game to be. But you know, you get those shots. Like Steph Curry didn't start his career taking those shots. He started his career as more of a facilitator.
Mid range, a few threes.
Yeah, and he was actually very crafty getting the basket. If you remember him at Davidson, that was actually more what he was known for. Was like he was able to kind of snake, especially on the championship run. He was able to kind of snake in through the defense and be crafty, and he still does that to a certain extent. Like he's a much better finisher, I think, than he gets credit for.
True.
But then obviously you add the other factor, and so they had to respect the drive, and then he opened up the 3-point line, and then he opened up the Steph Curry range. And so I think Jordan Poole is not as talented of a ball handler or finisher as Steph is, at least at this point in his career. And so I think, I'm certainly no basketball coach, but I think for him, he would do well to improve that facet of his game as more of a slasher and finisher. And then you can start to open up the long distance game.
But what happens with players, and I don't know if players even think of this, people watch film on you. People try to develop a strategy around what do you do well and let us take it from you. I've noticed that defenders back off Poole a little bit.
Yeah, they play drop coverage on it.
Yeah, don't worry about the left to right and all that stuff.
Because they know that he wants to shoot.
Yes.
Right. And so
they also know that his jump shot is not on.
Right. Yeah, his jump shot isn't consistent enough where they have to blitz him to the 3-point line. So you can just play drop back on him and basically dare him to beat you. And in the regular season, he could kind of do it. Certainly he had his games where he was very strong. But in the playoffs, it's just a whole different animal. The defensive tenacity is different.
Yeah.
Especially when you talk about that Lakers team with Vanderbilt and Reeves and the way that they defended the Warriors was really special, I thought. Just the simple effort of, I mean, if you watch Austin Reeves chase around some of those guys, you gain a lot of respect for that man in this past series. So I'll be interested to see how the game plan changes for the Nuggets, because that team is completely different than the Warriors.
Totally different.
Yeah, because they operate mainly from the foul line with Jokic.
Yes. A lot of times he's the point from the 3-point to the foul line.
Yeah.
To the point. Yeah.
Right. And they have just different complementary players. They're not all shooters because that's what the Warriors did, right? It was like basically Draymond at the 5 and then a bunch of shooters. And so Denver's not necessarily that. So they have more of an inside-out game, and just in terms of their position, and it changes them defensively too. So it'll just be interesting to see the matchup. I think everyone's looking forward to the AD Jokic matchup to see how that kind of plays itself out. I think that's
very interesting.
Yeah.
But just going back to Poole, I feel like one last thing on him. I would think he has to leave town, right?
I think they would probably be wise to look to move him to a more middle tier team that has useful pieces. The Indiana Pacers actually come to mind as a good landing spot for him.
Sam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we have, I feel like we have 2 players that are on expiring or very good contracts that would be useful players on a championship team. And those players are Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Very team-friendly contracts. They're not long-term. Buddy Hield, I believe, expiring after this year. I think Miles also expires after next year, but it could have 1 year tacked on. I don't remember exactly how it is, but it's a very team-friendly deal.
And the irony is that Golden State was looking at Buddy Hield last year.
Right. And then you get Miles Turner, and I think he fits perfectly with what they do. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter, and he's one of the best rim defenders in the league. So, something like that, I don't think it's necessarily Indiana, but a team like that, a team like Indiana or Detroit that has some nice young pieces and is looking for sort of that third piece to kind of mesh with what they already have, that could grow along their timeline. So something like that, I think, would be a wise thing. But we'll see. Golden State doesn't like to make too many splashes in the trade market, at least.
Well, I think they realize that you got to bridge the gap between vets and young players.
Right.
You need some other, probably over 4 years in the league to help the vets out, because just leaning on Kuminga, Moses Moody, James Wiseman, and Poole didn't work.
They weren't quite ready yet. Yeah.
And the timeline Steph is on. Steph's 35. He
Yeah.
can't wait 3-4 more years for somebody to get right.
No.
They got to be right now.
I think legitimately that team probably has a year or two left to kind of really be a contender.
So do I. That's exactly what I think.
Yeah, and I think honestly more of it's Clay and Draymond than Steph. I think just based on the way they play, because I feel like Steph's, his game is so transferred. Like Jason Kidd was a perfect example of like someone who extended his career because he sort of transformed his game. And I feel like Steph can just, with just how he can shoot the ball. I mean, he can do whatever you want, right? And so, and he's a much better defender, I think, than people give him credit for, at least at this point in his career. Whereas Draymond, you can kind of tell the legs are a little tired, and then Clay unfortunately had those injuries.
I'm watching Draymond. I'm watching old film the other day. I'm watching Draymond 2015, 2016. You talking about leg side? I mean, this guy's on the pick and roll, taking off, tomahawk dunking.
Yeah,
no problem getting off the ground.
player.
It's not the same. I mean, these guys got a lot of games in them. And to be fair, we're talking about Poole leaving town on that midnight train to Georgia, so wherever he's going. I think Clay is also probably going to be asked to take a pay cut.
Yeah, the rules change so often on the salary caps and how that all works. So I'm not quite sure what benefits them and what doesn't. But yeah, they are. My understanding, they're probably well over the salary cap, and so they're pretty limited with what they can do, at least in terms of signing players. So they're going to have to make some sort of trade or some amnesty or some, however they can make it work with the cap. They're not super flexible in what they could do. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to find out.
Yes, sir. We got Zerny here. What's up, fam? What's up, Zerny? Connor says, let's go Boston. I was looking at some odds today. They're saying that Boston is going to play Denver in the finals. I still say don't count out the Miami Heat. I think they got some game.
Man, Jimmy Butler, like, you talk about a love of, like, when he was on the Bulls, I remember him as a rookie on the Bulls, and you could just see this guy was like a little different, He had the like Derrick Rose thing, but he just didn't get enough playing time.
Came off the bench, yeah.
And then, oh my God, that guy in the playoffs he's like Kawhi. He honestly reminds me of Kawhi when he had that spurt, with the Spurs and the Raptors and stuff. Like, just the way he turns into this monster in the playoffs. I mean, he literally put that team on his back, and they're back at another conference finals as the 8th seed. I mean, with his arguably their second best player out.
Yes.
So I agree with you. I think Boston's pretty tough, especially with the addition of Brogdon. I think that was a huge acquisition for them. So I would probably say Boston and Denver as well. That would be my guess. Denver is just tough. I don't know how anyone bets against the Denver Nuggets right now to win the championship. I think that
I don't disagree with you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm in LA. That's a controversial topic, but I believe Denver has a lot of game left and is about to bring some.
Yeah, and they got a deep roster. They have bench players that can play. They're not just, and that was the main problem with Phoenix, is that they, after the Durant trade, they just had nothing left. I mean, they were, even in the playoffs, they were throwing guys out there that had just never been in the rotation.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're scrub players. I mean, they're in the NBA, but there's a difference between Cam Johnson being your first guy off the bench and, whoever they threw out there, Terry Taylor, you know what I mean? Like, or whoever it was.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there. So and Denver has that depth. I don't think LA has that depth. They're deeper than they were
at
the beginning of the season, and then Boston only really goes like 7 deep. They get some spot minutes from some people, but and then Miami again is like they're kind of piecing it together, but they really need another huge series from Jimmy Butler. And then I don't know how you beat Jokic in the finals. They're too big, they're too long for Miami, at least.
So if the Joker gets a championship and 2 MVPs, it gets interesting.
It does get interesting.
He enters a new level.
He does. That championship's a big.
That's what's so cool about championships.
It's a
They
big
can help
barrier.
change your career.
Absolutely, it's a huge barrier. Yeah, think about all the greats that don't have a championship.
And also think about all the current players that won't.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, I bring this stuff up all the time. There's some players when you start talking about they'll probably never have a championship, people get emotional about that statement.
Yeah, James Harden probably never gonna have a championship.
Probably
Certainly not as a main guy.
No.
He might be one of those like tag along guys. Like Sean Marion kind of with the Mavericks, but he's not gonna have one as the main guy.
Yeah, I always ask the question: will Luka ever win one?
I believe he will. Yeah. Just, Luka's career, and I'm not comparing him to LeBron, but just the way those teams were constructed, it reminds me a lot of how Cleveland navigated the early LeBron years. When you think about LeBron in the late 2000s, those Cavalier teams were awful. They were bad, and he just kind of carried them. So I think Luka has some personal things to work out in his game, just mainly the not getting back on defense and complaining to the refs. That cost him a lot of games.
I think you do that when you're not in shape.
Yeah. I think it's an effort thing. And so I think he needs to figure that out. I feel like they made a little bit of a mistake this year. And even in the last couple of years, is they're trying to find the wingman for Luka. And I don't think they necessarily need one. I think they need a lot of good players around him. And I think that's why they were so successful last year, is because they had all these perfect complementary players. He took them to the conference finals, and they had all these really good complementary players. And then they decided to cash those players in for,
one Kyrie Irving,
a superstar. Yeah. And it didn't work. It was the farthest thing from working. And I don't necessarily think he needs to play with another superstar. He needs to just have good shooters, good defenders, and then somebody on the bench who can lead the second unit.
Do you think he needs to change his game at all? The amount of time he holds the ball, you think that needs to change at all?
I don't necessarily think that. I think it's good if he can take a few. I think they need to run their offense less just pick and roll Luka dominant, and do more motion offense and stuff. Because a lot of times it's just give the ball to Luka and let him dribble, which is pretty good offense in general. But the way the season works, the guy's usage is so high.
Yeah, he's wore down by the time.
Yeah,
playoff
run. and then you suffer on the defensive end, and so I think there's definitely some change that needs to happen there. But I don't know. Again, I'm not a coach. I'm just a casual sports fan.
Yeah, we're all just out here in our TV sets, so at a game
right.
looking and being like,
Yeah, but it does seem it seems a lot of okay, give the ball to Luka and let him dribble, which oftentimes is great. But you think about 82 games and and then however many games in the playoffs. These guys are exhausted.
It looks good on ESPN when he scored 60.
Right.
But in all actuality, is that really what you want to have going on?
Right.
Big John, what's up? Peeps, good evening, fellas. Vanderbilt is looking incredible, in my opinion. I haven't looked at Vanderbilt at all. Have you? Have you looked at Vanderbilt?
He's been a nice pickup for sure for the Lakers.
We'll see.
Defensively.
Yeah, defensively. We'll see.
You got to give the Lakers GM a lot of credit, because I don't know how he convinced these other teams to take these players and get back all the useful pieces. I'm
trying to figure out how he got rid of Westbrook.
Yeah, he got rid of Westbrook. He got rid of Taylor Tucker. There was just guys that just weren't in the rotation, and somehow he convinced some other teams to take them and get back actual useful players in return. It's pretty impressive. So
yeah, you got to tip your hat. Camden, 51-13-6, 0 turnovers in Game 7 FD. Yeah, I know a lot of people are hyped on Tatum right now. No, people are so hyped that they forgot about the game before that.
He's playing great. I mean, every player is gonna have a stinker of a game, but yeah, he's one of the best players in the league. I think you got to give him credit. I'd say
The only thing I think that's up with Tatum, his ability is without question. It's his motor and his drive. Sometimes he looks like he's just out there floating around.
Yeah,
He came out in Game 7, didn't look like that from the tip. He looked
Right.
like he was very focused on what he needed to do. And when he got to 20-something points early, it almost looked like he was like, man, I'm about to go for this.
yeah, yeah. He's. I think you're right. I think it happens a lot with young players. They don't quite know that extra level they need to get to. That's really required if you're contending for a championship. And so we saw that with Embiid and Harden in the last game. I mean, it was just like they gave up, especially in Game 6. It's like as soon as they lost the lead, they just like gave up on the game. The game's not over.
Was Embiid he seemed timid at some points? Was it because of his knee? He just seemed
I mean, he's
wasn't
always
ready to
beat
take
up.
it to the next level.
No, he gets really beat up during the season, and again, his usage is really high because they have to lean on him the whole year. And I just think it goes back to like they run too much of their offense through Embiid. And he gets hurt and he gets tired. So
and then he gets to the post game press conference. He's like, it takes more than me and Sam to win this thing. Like, what is that?
Right.
Well, Tyrese Maxey sitting over here like, and several other people, PJ Tucker. Really?
Yeah, that whole process thing was clearly not working out very well for them.
It's interesting how, before you could lose. I just feel like teams, you can lose and kind of bring that team back. I mean, I just don't know. Philly going to run that thing back? I'm pretty sure Doc Rivers is leaving.
They got to – I think they got to move on from Harden. I think it has to be Maxey and Embiid.
I agree.
And then find some way – because I believe Harden has an option. So I think most likely scenario is he probably takes the option because it's.
Does he go back to Houston? There's some rumors of him going back to Houston.
I don't think that'd be good for that team. Harden's at the point in his career where I don't really know how he helps someone win the championship because he's not going to be. He's going to want to be a main guy, but he's not a main guy.
And he's another guy. We're talking about Luka. Let's be fair. Sometimes Harden is not in the best shape.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that he may want to do that it's not happening.
Right.
After he's 40-some points the next game, a little struggling a little bit.
Yeah. He's at that point in his career. I mean, he came into the league in 2008?
2009 with Steph.
2009, yeah. But again, he's another guy, like the usage is so high. Those years in Houston, it was a lot like Luka, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It was.
And so, he's got a lot of games under his belt, and he's also got, I don't know the guy obviously, but there's been rumors that there's personality issues with him.
Well, he asked Doc, "Hey, can I roll to Vegas?"
Right. He kind of does his own thing.
I get this Vegas in right quick before I can go win this championship.
Right. Dennis Rodman style.
Yeah, that cracked me up. And then Doc told him, "Hey, Dennis did it, but Dennis won a ring, bro."
Yeah, I don't think we can question Dennis
before that. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, from the bench, good to have you here. Evening, gents. Imani says we're rolling. Huge fan of Sam and his videos.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Nate Dog up in here. What's up, everyone? HBK Joan. I love the content, gentlemen. Keep it up. Thank you very much. Big John. Tobias Harris over me. That is a questionable thing. I mean, when you make decisions like that as an organization, it impacts you long term. That was a bad decision by Philly.
Yeah.
Another streaky player, Tobias Harris. I mean,
I think he's a nice player. I don't think he's the problem.
He's not Jimmy Butler, though.
No, he's not Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler also wasn't Jimmy Butler until he got to Miami, really.
True.
At least this version of it. And you gotta give credit to Spoelstra too, because he's the ultimate coach who gets the very best out of every single one of his players.
What I thought who Jimmy Butler was becoming when I first started paying attention to him? Really, like, this guy's when he went to Minnesota and started calling everybody out. when he was just talking about how these guys have no heart, when I thought this dude is different.
Yeah, right.
Then he went to Philly and told Embiid shoot the three. Stop playing games out here, man. And you can still say Embiid needs that kind of guy around him.
Right.
He doesn't need Harden. He needs someone who's driving him, probably working out with him, doing certain things with him.
Yeah.
Asking what did you eat today? Stuff like that.
He needs someone with a championship mindset who's going to teach him how to be a champion.
Mm-hmm. From the bench says Tobias Harris is a good fourth man on a great team. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wouldn't disagree with it. So let's talk about card shows right quick. I know you go to a lot of shows, and you're in a different region than what I am in. What are you seeing at shows? What are people buying? Like I'm seeing and hearing probably under $300 cards are the cards that's moving. Price bands, people are hitting hard. But what are you seeing where you're at?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just did a show last weekend. I haven't been setting up as much recently or going to shows as much recently, but certainly in the last couple months, pattern I've noticed is the foot traffic's been lower, at least at my local show, and I don't know if that's because of just the timing of the year. Usually when the summer starts, that happens just because of a lot of kids stuff happens on Saturday mornings. Baseball games, soccer games, all that stuff. But also, I think it's just there's a bit of a lull generally after the NFL season ends and during the off season. And we're getting to the end of the NBA playoffs where less and less people are paying attention because their teams are out,
sure.
Frankly. And so it's but in terms of what's moving, yeah, anything under, for me, it's usually 200 and under. Quarterbacks, especially, are very liquid right now. Anything over that price range is much more difficult to move. Online at shows, I don't go to any of the big shows really, or I haven't recently. So I just don't have that, but I don't have that type of buyer in my market typically. We have a couple of sharks that buy, margin buy. They buy bulk lots at a certain percentage and do that. But most of the stuff they target again is in the $50 to $200 price range. I think that's kind of the sweet spot right now of what people are looking for and what people can afford and what's easy to move, I think.
When you look at, like when you're at shows, there are certain athletes, let's stick with sports. There are certain athletes' cards that kind of stick out more, you see moving more people asking about.
Oh, yeah. So the three guys I can never hold on to: Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. Those are the three. Never. As soon as I get a card in my case, it's gone immediately. Those are the three.
So have people kind of walked away from Herbert a little bit?
Yeah, Herbert has lost a lot of ground to Burrow because Burrow's sort of become what they thought Herbert was going to be, right? Because Herbert got all the love early on. Joe Burrow had the injury. And then the man is basically taking them to a Super Bowl and almost a second Super Bowl. So he's also more local for me.
Oh, he is. Yeah, sure.
So Cincinnati's 2 hours away. So there's Bengals fans in the area. But yeah, Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence too. I mean, those guys are hot as can be. So those three are the easiest movers. Basketball is a lot slower moving. It's a lot more long-term investing with basketball. A lot more prospecting with basketball, I think. Football, though, is very, very quick to move.
People are excited because of Fields. That still kind of surprises me.
Yeah, I don't think it surprises me as much. He showed a lot of signs last year. He's an exciting player. He's an Ohio State guy, which already has a big fan base. And also, like, it's the Bears, which is arguably the football's largest fan base.
Yeah, but I think about, he picked up DJ Moore. Who's his running back?
Khalil Herbert. He was the backup last year. Arguably was better than David Montgomery, who was the starter.
Who's his tight end?
Cole Kmet's the number one tight end. They definitely have more weapons than they did last year, especially in the receiver group, because they picked up Claypool in the middle of the year last year, and he didn't play very much during the year.
Oh, he did
but
not.
Yeah, but then they got DJ Moore in the offseason. So I'm interested to see kind of if they take the next step. They upgraded the offensive line, which was a big deal. So I think it'll be an exciting year. And also the North is just kind of wide open. I mean, there's, because Aaron Rodgers isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a huge deal because it was basically like Green Bay's going to win unless somebody else gets in the way, and nobody got in the way for 12 years.
Now I like Fields a lot. I just look at stuff like, I feel like he's popular because as a default. Like, who else is there to really be talking about right now? When you get past Burrow, what other young quarterback that has promise is there to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is the only other one.
That's the only one.
Yeah, and Herbert and Jalen Hurts have kind of crossed that threshold, I think, where it's just like, where it's like there's not, we sort of know what they are now. I still think Herbert's great. That team has a lot of issues. Mainly their head coach, I think, is terrible.
Oh, I think the head coach is horrible.
But anyways,
some kind of way he keeps that job. But
yeah, I don't know why. But
all the fourth downs the year before and what he was doing this year is like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. But so we know, like, and that's the thing with the card market that's so funny is that it's really like people like the gambling aspect of it.
They do. And that's what I'm kind of getting at. They do.
Yeah, like they just, and I think about it too. Like I was talking to a friend of mine who works at the local card shop. He said back in 2013 they were ripping hobby boxes of Prism for $50 a box. $50 a box, 2013 Prism. That's Giannis's rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And he said a buddy of
a very short printed.
Yes, yeah. And he said they would pull silver Prisms all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the silver Prisms were much rarer in that set than they are now.
Yeah.
And he said a buddy of his pulled a Giannis Gold rookie auto out of one of those boxes. You know, sold it for like $2,000 or something. So there's this like thing that we all think about is like, man, if I would have just held on to that card for 10 years, you know, it's probably a $500,000 card now, somewhere around there. Maybe it's not that much, but it's up there.
It's an expensive card.
Yeah.
But if you take yourself back to that time, rookie year Giannis averaged 8.5 points a game.
Oh yeah, he wasn't good at all.
His physical makeup was extremely different. No one would predict probably that this guy's about to go do this.
But people like him are why people collect all these rookies and hold on to all these rookies. And like, there's a psychological thing that you're like, oh, well, if I buy a Moses Moody number to 10 Prism for $400, you know, 2 years from now, what if he's, you know, an all NBA shooting guard on the Golden State Warriors who just won the championship?
True.
You know, what is that card worth now? So there's this gambling aspect to it. With football, it's a little harder than basketball, because basketball, I feel like you have more time to become what you're going to become, just the way the contracts work. And, you know, there aren't any, I mean, there are impact rookies in the NBA, but, you know, even your very, very best rookies aren't going to be oftentimes on a good team.
No.
Right.
And there's less physicality in the game. And we're talking about football. You could be a great quarterback and projected to do a lot and showing a lot, and someone will come around the corner and blast you.
Yeah, and you're done.
And everything changes.
Yeah. So, and there's also you know, it's like there's the Mahomes thing where like he didn't play at all. Nobody knew who he was coming out of college. Like I remember watching that draft and they drafted him. I was like, I have no idea who this kid is at all.
I watched him, but in that Texas Tech offense, you sling the football.
Right.
It wasn't like he put up numbers, but what is his decision making like? Can he read a defense?
I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, a year goes by and all of a sudden he's arguably the second best quarterback of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's still in year 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this like thing where it's like everyone wants the next thing, and then when they become not that thing, then, you know, there's like 4 years and then they're basically hobby irrelevant. That's sort of the term that my Discord has come up with, is like, this person is hobby irrelevant. So like a perfect example of someone who's hobby irrelevant is DeMar DeRozan, right? Great player, Perennial All-Star. He was in the MVP discussion last season.
Just hit 20,000 career points.
Yeah, amazing player, right? Amazing career. If he was if this DeMar DeRozan was in his second or third year, the guy would be, his market would be crazy. But we kind of know who he is now, right? So, investors aren't buying DeMar DeRozan for what he could become. We know what he is.
Sure.
He's not an all-time great player. He's a great player. He's probably not going to make the Hall of Fame just because he doesn't have the accolades, but he'll go down as a great NBA player. But hobby-wise, he's not worth anything because there's no risk in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no upside.
True. He has 0 championships.
Yep.
And this is what I ask about. We go back to Luka. He's 24 years old. He's played basketball, and people who watch know I brought this up before. He's played professional basketball since he was 14. He has 10 years of wear and tear on that body.
He does.
He's already said, have no interest in being LeBron James and playing that long. But how long will he play? So Steph is 35. Luka's going to be around 35? I don't think so. So I put him at maybe up until 32, 30, 31. So let's give him 7 more years. He may not win a championship in the next 7 years.
Yeah, that's
fair. Then what happens to his cards at that point? Even if you give him another 4 and he hasn't won, and let's say injury starts setting in because every year he's hurt.
Yeah, I think that he's still viewed as a top 5 player in the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and so until he loses that, there's still going to be that value there.
Yeah, but earlier we were just talking about until you become highly irrelevant.
Right.
So
but
at some point before he retires, people are going to say, we know who that dude is.
Right. But he's still a top 5 player in the league. The hobby irrelevant thing was more for the young players, right?
But that's right now. He's top 5.
Yes.
Luka didn't finish the season this year.
Yeah. But he's still a top 5 player. I would say he's a top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah, that's right now. So in 3 years, will he be? In 4 years?
I don't know. That's a good question. He's continued to increase his numbers every year he's been in the league, pretty much. And so until that trend discontinues, I don't think that it's more like this thing where he's kind of hanging around in that crew, and people are just waiting until he just really starts to dominate. And I don't know when or if that is ever going to happen. I think it also depends on what happens with this team. It depends on what happens with the Western Conference, right? Because we're sort of changing the guard here.
Oh yeah.
The Steph, the Golden State Warriors dynasty, the Kevin Durant's, that group of players, James Harden, LeBron, that era is at the end now. So then when they're gone, who's going to take up the mantle? Who's going to be the face of the NBA? And a lot of people think it's Luka.
I know a lot of people think that. I don't think that.
That's fair.
I don't think that at all. I think there are too many things showing me. I got to see a guy finish a season on his feet.
Right.
Not wrapping tape around his thighs and talking about his back is hurting. And
yeah.
It's the same thing we talk about Ja Morant. I haven't seen that guy finish a season.
Yeah, he might not finish anymore.
Might not. So now we have decision-making off the field, and we got play and performance on the field. So on the court, field, whatever it is. So it's like, if you look at a Steph wasn't, and once he got past those ankle problems, Steph was finishing seasons, winning. At this point in Luka's career, he was starting to be an MVP candidate. He was winning MVPs. You saw a different direction of things. You saw a guy in shape on a regular basis. I just see certain things that tell me, if I've got a 24-year-old guy who's experiencing these physical issues right now and holding the ball for a long time in the shot clock and not a good defender. This is not LeBron James. LeBron James in his prime was a great defender.
Sure, but LeBron at this point in his career was not a good defender either.
Oh, yo, but
LeBron became a good defender. I think I'd say Luka's an adequate defender. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's a liability. he certainly doesn't provide much on that end, but I don't think he's like. I think you can hide him more than you can hide someone like who's a good example? Karl Anthony Towns. You can't hide him.
No, you can't hide him. Do you think you can hide Kyrie?
Yeah, I do. It just depends. It depends who you play.
I think both are exposed very easily when you start playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Both
we saw
don't give
that.
up a whole lot against any strong guards that they play.
Yeah, but I also just think that they did what Phoenix did, which is they got rid of all their depth to trade for a star player who can score a lot, but doesn't provide much benefit in the locker room and doesn't provide much defense.
It'd be interesting because I just think that because of where Luke is, we can talk about Zion. Zion cards at a place where they represent a lot in the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
He's not performing. He's hurt all the time.
He's hurt. Yeah, he's performing when he's playing, but he's not playing very much.
He's only playing like 40 games, 35 games a year.
Yeah.
He's played less than 200 games since he's been a pro.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
true.
I think Zion, if he's playing, is a legitimate MVP contender, but he hasn't shown that he can play that. He hasn't shown that he can.
You know
stay
that guy
healthy.
never won MVP playing 35 games a season.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like he can't stay. He hasn't shown the ability to stay healthy throughout the season. And
But
so
his cards don't reflect that.
they do now. They've been on a free fall pretty much since. I mean, more than other players. Like his value hasn't sustained as much as like Luka's has.
Do you see people selling Zion cards or holding Zion cards?
Selling for sure. Yeah. The problem with selling Zion cards is there aren't very many buyers right now.
Because when I go to shows, I don't see too much Zion for sale.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
I don't see too much Steph for sale. There's several players that I just don't see.
Yeah.
And Zion's one of them. You walk up to a table and you ask about Zion, people talk about him. But oh no, I'm holding that because
but that's a lost cost fallacy in my opinion. Like his cards are never going to be worth that ever again. You know, he just hasn't shown the ability to be a consistent, productive NBA player just because he's hurt. He's talented, and when he plays, he's a game changer. I mean, the Pelicans were a championship contending team with him playing. He can't stay on the court.
So I guess what I'm saying is I see Luka's market. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, hurt every year, not an MVP candidate. He just started his first All-Star game, right?
Did he started last year? I can't remember. I don't know. I don't think. Well, he would have been first team All NBA if he wasn't hurt that many games this year, for sure. Him and Steph would have both been first team All NBA if they weren't hurt as much as they were this year.
It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. It's going to be very interesting if that whole entire situation doesn't start turning in another direction and keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite interesting. Like, I don't know. We don't know right now if Jason Kidd's coming back or will he get a different coach that runs maybe a little bit different of a system for him? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think that they have the benefit of having a very active owner. So that's like he's not just going to sit there and let it kind of fall apart. Because they'll do anything to keep Luka, you know. But we'll see. I do think they probably need to make a coaching change, even though I like Jason Kidd. They need to make a coaching change, and they need more depth on their roster. The biggest mistake they made over the last 2 years is they got rid of their depth. And with Luka, you need productive role players. If it's just Luka dribbling the ball and shooting it, it's not going to, if that's all you have, not going to be a good thing.
That's what I kind of thought signing on Kyrie exposed some stuff about Luka that probably people never pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because now those other guys, Finney Smith, other guys not around to kind of level some things out.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has huge upside. Oh, I don't disagree with that. I agree with that a lot. His contract kind of showed that.
Yeah.
The NFC sucks, from the bench says. I have no idea why Rodgers went to the AFC to go against 10 other really good QBs. I just wondered if he wanted out of Green Bay.
That's what it was.
I think it was.
Yeah, and the Jets were willing to do whatever to get him, and so it wasn't. I don't think he really cares, to be honest.
I don't either.
No,
because I think an athlete. I've said this before. Has a life cycle. Well, you come in, you're trying to prove yourself. You get paid, then you want to get paid some more. Then you become probably the highest paid in your position. Then at the end, you're picking up paychecks. Like the last probably 4 years, 5 years of Urlacher's career. He's just around.
Yeah.
And I think Rodgers is at this point like, I should get paid for my services and go someplace else. Leave Green Bay, see what they can do without me, prove a point, and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's what it is with him is like he's competitive and I think he likes the competition, but I think he also just wanted, like, the Packers were clearly not going to bend over backwards to do whatever he wanted, and the Jets were. So I'll go play for them. But I don't think what conference he was playing in mattered to him at all.
One thing I wondered, when he went on retreat and said he went into a place with no windows, why did we know the details of that?
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, I know why, because he went on the Pat McAfee show and he told everyone the details of it. But
why though?
Why did he do it?
No, why did he tell us exactly? I had no windows, one source of light, one door that led in and out of this place.
Because
I said darkness for these many hours a day. Like, why do we know that?
I don't know, because he's a wacko, and I guess it's interesting. Like, I don't.
He's a funny guy.
He's
like when he showed up
interesting character, man.
Looking like Nicolas Cage in a movie.
I know.
He never looked like this the rest of the season. But
No.
you don't walk in here like this.
Yeah.
Drop the bag. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I like his style. From the bench, people hate the fourth down decisions for Staley. Meanwhile, the Eagles ran more plays on fourth down than anyone else, and they love it. But did they convert from the bench?
Yeah, I mean, the Staley fourth down plays were like 4th and 8. The Eagles fourth down plays were like, we can sneak it for 4 yards every single time.
It was like he was playing Pop Warner football or something.
Yeah.
Like, who's running that? Who's thinking against other grown people on the other side of the field? I'm gonna convert this.
Yeah, I mean, Staley just seems to me like some guy who feels like he's the smartest guy in the room always, just stubbornly, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe he is, but also like it doesn't always come to fruition. Doesn't always come home to roost. So he ends up in these situations where he just looks like a moron because he's going for it from 4th and 8 from his own 30-yard line. They turn it over, and the other team throws a touchdown on the next play. Like, it's not a good look. Whether the analytics say so or not.
That's right. My favorite week is when he came on the field before the game and ran around exercising, and then got down and stretched. It's like, you have facilities here, bro.
I don't remember that.
You have facilities to go work out before the game. Yeah. You're on the field right now?
That's funny.
I always see some comedy. To me, it's always comedy in sports. Some of the stuff you see people doing. Yes. It's like, why? April says, "Hi, Sam. Congrats, the new puppy."
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, he's a demon spawn, but he's cute.
What kind of dog do you have?
We have 2 corgis.
Oh, well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So our older one was like the easiest puppy in the world, and he's the sweetest, quietest thing. And the new one's very high energy, so it's a big change for us. But he's been fun.
What do you feed him, Sam? What food do you feed?
We feed him like kibbles, Purina, sensitive skin and stomach.
Okay.
Yeah, they love it. So
very cool.
Yeah,
we ask all questions here on what's.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, as long as they eat it and they don't throw up, it's good.
All good, right?
Yeah, because sometimes they don't like the food, and then sometimes it makes their tummy. So this checks all the boxes, which is great.
There you go. From the bench says Luka can elevate when he wants on defense, but he just takes a lot of it off on that side to give more of his effort on offense. That's a way of putting it from the bench.
Yeah,
it's a way of.
I think Luka's a capable defender just because of his size. It's just how often and how important is it for him to apply himself on that end?
And so from the bench, you think he plays the same level of defense as Steph Curry?
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I disagree with that totally. I don't. Don't know about that. I think Steph is probably one of the most well-conditioned superstars in the NBA. I also think LeBron is still there. You don't see you see LeBron taking some time off on defense, but those guys put a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Connor says my hate for Zion is real. I think it's realistic.
Hey, the best availability or the best what is it? The best ability is availability. That's right.
Right. I mean, CJ McCullough said in the post-game press conference when they got put out, hey, we got to have people here.
Yeah, right.
We got to have people focus on their diet. Who is he talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
Connor, who was he talking about? Think he was talking about the guy in the concession stand making popcorn and filling sodas? No, he was talking about Zion. Not just me. I'm just telling you. Dalton Sports Shop, and we're rolling. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you a lot. Richard Perez, what's up, FD? Luka Doncic will be traded at some point.
I don't think he's getting traded.
Mm.
Unless he becomes a problem.
Or his availability becomes a question.
Right, which would be a problem, yeah. Yeah, unless there's an issue with him, he's not getting traded.
Remember last year he played in the World Championships and people said, man, Luka's chiseled.
Right.
He wasn't chiseled, Sam.
No, and then he got home and they're like, why is he fat now?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Over Luka.
That was like the whole conversation the last season was like the first 3 months of the year. They're like, Luka's out of shape. It's like, okay.
People should go back. So I go back and watch old stuff sometimes. You're talking about Draymond Duncan. Go back and watch Luka's first and second season and look at that body.
Yeah.
That's a totally different person. The way he's moving, the way he looks, totally different person. And within 5 years?
Yeah.
4 years?
We'll see. He's got to make the decision himself.
He has the ability. I would love to see Luka in shape, out here running, causing all kind of problems. Hey, Sam, Captain America is no match for Thanos.
History would disagree with you.
It would. Like that. From the bench. Those weren't Staley's play calls. From the bench, from the bench is on Staley. He's loving Staley. He's got some Staley love. Those were Joe Lombardi's. Like to run third and fourth play calls for DeAndre Carter. Run Sony Michel for the first half of the season. And more head scratchers. Interesting. You've been on Whatnot, right?
Yes.
What do you find selling well on Whatnot?
So I've done a number of different things. The last one I did was a mystery pack one, which was kind of fun. But I've done like singles, just like a buy it now kind of singles sale for their Whatnot card show.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, I just did like cheap auctions. And for me, that works the best. Just the pacing of it is the best. There's always something for someone to do, right? It's not the best platform to buy cards on, I would say, just because there's not a lot of like, there's no search functionality to it.
Yeah.
But I think, and it's also like, it's not a good platform if you don't already have some sort of a following.
True. I've heard this.
Because, you're going to get on there and put a $30 card up for $1 and it's going to sell for $2, So that's not a good thing for most people. So you want to make sure you have enough of a following that you can get people to the platform, because one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion, is transfer people to different platforms on a social media. So like getting people from TikTok to Instagram, right? It's very difficult. Certainly like YouTube to Whatnot is pretty difficult. Twitch to YouTube. All these things are very challenging just because there's not a lot of intermingling between the platforms.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, and so so my first Whatnot show, I remember I had like 70 to 100 people the entire time, which was crazy. It was, and I was not nearly as prepared for it as I should have been. But it was really fun. And then like every subsequent time, the head count went down a little bit. But I still had some shows where even when I had like 20 to 30 people, we'd run $1 auctions, and it was all just like cheap stuff. And it was kind of fun. You move through cards really quickly. And for me, that's the best platform for that kind of stuff, because you don't have to take a time, listing a card on eBay is a little tedious. Posting the pictures and shipping and all that stuff, it just takes a little at a time. Whereas in Whatnot, you just put it in front of your phone or your camera or whatever, and then you push dollar, and 15 seconds later it's gone. And it make the back end really easy with all the shipping. So in my opinion, like the best shows, and I think the ones that I'm going to do from now on are all going to be just like $1 auctions, rapid fire, because it's the most engaging for the viewers, and there's little risk from my end, at least.
Understood.
Yeah.
Connor says eBay traffic sucks unless you promote your listing now.
I just sold a card on eBay while we were talking, so it doesn't suck that much.
I was gonna say it must have been bad for a long time because eBay has been doing pretty well.
Yeah, I do great on eBay. Just kind of depends what you have. I mean, you have to list things properly and not be overpriced.
Sam, what did you sell to be interested?
I sold a Steph Curry National Treasures.
Boom.
It was just like a base card.
It doesn't matter.
It was 2016, 2017, number to 99. So
that's is that MVP year? Yeah.
16, 17?
I think so.
Yeah, probably right around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, eBay has the biggest set of eyeballs, and so I've been finding success by either just running stuff on auction or just listing it, buy it now for whatever the last sale was. And I've been getting a lot of success. I think a lot of people make a mistake by listing their card for way too much and doing a best offer. Because most people are going to lowball you anyways.
I'll give you a secret of what I've been doing. Like if I'm interested in something, I'll go through. A lot of people have stuff sitting there for the last year and a half.
Yeah, I know. You get the same.
So it's old prices. So I just ask somebody, hey, are you willing to? These are some comps. I try to help them out.
Yeah.
These are some comps I've seen. What do you think about this price? Then I suggest a price. And people have said either I'm just going to go ahead and hold a card because I'm in on it too much more than that. Or yeah, I think that's a fair price. You want to buy.
Yeah, I'm always willing to listen to offers. But for me too, like the whole sending an offer and waiting for an offer thing, like I'd rather just list the card for a fair price, and if it doesn't sell after a week or two, I'll just drop the price. And that seems to be working really well for me.
And that will work for me because if I'm watching the cards that you have, I'm gonna know if it didn't sell, and I'm gonna know that you lowered that price, and I'm gonna know this is somebody I'm about to work with.
Yeah, and I've gotten messages too. They're like, "Wow, I'm definitely going to save you as a seller because you're like the only person who has fair prices on here."
That's right.
Because like bottom line is like a lot of these cards just sell for a certain amount. That's what they sell for. And so if you're trying to get $300 more than that, it's just no one's going to buy it for that.
Well, let's go back here because I'm telling you what Sam just said. I only see a few people do. I track a lot of stuff. And I'm on stuff daily, and I only see a few people actually do what he just said. So, Connor, if you want this thing to stop sucking, you do what Sam just said.
Yeah. And the other thing about buy it now that is great is they make you pay immediately now. There's an option to pay immediately. So you don't have to deal with waiting for someone to pay and all that's, garbage that comes along with that.
And I see more sellers willing to do a buy it now because of that. They know that if I'm talking to someone, they're really serious. They put their information in. This is potentially going to be a sale, so let me communicate with them.
Yeah. I think the biggest, one of my biggest things that I try to promote on my own channel is people think that their cards are worth a lot more than they actually are.
True.
And just because a price of a card sold on eBay doesn't mean that that's the cash value of your card. So when somebody makes you a fair offer on your card, you are probably best to just take it or hold on to it. Like take it to your grave. Because like holding out for every single nickel and dime on every card is a recipe for holding the bag, I think.
I agree.
So, your card's worth what it's worth. That's just the bottom line. It's there, unless it's some super rare oddball thing, most of the time there's going to be a fair amount of sales on your card. And so whatever the sales are, that's what your card is worth. Period. That's what it's worth. It's not worth more than that. It's not worth less. So if someone offers it to you in that range, take it. If you're truly looking to sell the card.
I agree. Are you grading cards? Do you send cards?
I am, yeah. I'm not grading a ton of stuff. I've been trying to do a little bit more because it's the most in my opinion, it's the most passive way to like just keep things going.
Mhm.
Because I used to do a lot of margin buying at shows, so I'd buy for a certain percentage, and then I'd just turn around, and so I'd buy in big lots. So I'd buy $1,000, and then I'd try to get 1,200 out of it, or whatever the case was, right? I usually try to get 10%. So if I buy for 1,000, I'd try to get 1,100 out of the lot, whatever the case is. But with grading cards, it's a lot more like, okay, I'll just buy some raw cards, check them out. And if I think they're going to have a chance at a gem, I'll send them into the card shop. It's pretty easy. They send out orders every week. And then you wait a couple months, and if they come back 10s, then great. If they come back 9s, then you basically break even on them.
Mhm.
So it's just it's an easy way for me to just kind of like keep the money moving passively. Whereas like the margin buying takes a lot more active work. I've also gotten really into buying on ComC. I don't know if you've ever bought
Mhm.
anything on ComC.
Yep.
So ComC is great because you can just buy cards and then relist them immediately. So, like for example, today I bought a Hendon Hooker out of 50 auto, first Bowman. I bought it for $140, and within an hour, I sold it for $170 just on ComC. So I got $30 in an hour. And it was one of the cards too, where like if it didn't sell within a week, I was just going to ship it to me and try to grade it. So ComC has been really fun for me, just having the ability to just go right back to the marketplace. And then usually when when my account runs out of money, I just ship all the cards to me, and then I go through and look at them for grading, because you can get actually a lot of gradable cards from ComC.
Hendon Hooker. Just look them up.
Hendon Hooker, yeah. Lions drafted him. Tore his
Tennessee.
ACL last year.
Yeah.
But it was a gold first Bowman. I don't know if you've seen that product, the first Bowman, or the Bowman University product.
No.
It's really awesome. So it's obviously it's a Topps Chrome, or it's a Chrome product. And so this year they got licensing from the colleges. So it has all the
Okay.
it has the school's names on it and stuff. And there's a basketball product coming out, which will be the first Victor Wembanyama autos.
Oh, we want to get
in that set.
Yeah, I want to talk about Victor a little bit.
Yeah, man. So he's got a first Bowman in that set. So those cards are going to be crazy. And the reason I'm high on the Bowman stuff right now for football is, first of all, because it has a history with the baseball prospects, right? It's got this status to it.
Yeah. Yes.
But I've actually been trying to look for first Bowmans of like the new quarterbacks to grade, because I know that their pro products aren't going to come out until the end of the season, or probably later in the season. So these are going to be some of the first cards they have. So if anyone has a good, nice first Bowman Anthony Richardson auto, I'll buy it from you.
There you go. Imani asked the question, Sam, do you still have the Black Panther card that was in one of your videos?
No, one of my viewers bought it. He was part of the stream when I bought that card, and he was eyeing it for a while. So when I decided to put it up for sale, he hit me up.
Trap House LA. After you need a Laker hat now.
That's right. You live in LA now, right?
Yeah, but I think people know that I don't wear Lakers gear.
Can't be seen with that.
I think I have a hoodie that I wear every blue moon, but
gotcha.
I think I do. My favorite colors are purple and gold, ironically.
There you go.
Well, for different reasons. Connor, I love eBay. Maybe card market has just crashed.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And, we talk. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody at a card shop. Like, I don't think so at all.
There's a correction that happens. The correction is not a crash.
Really, to me, the hobby is back to kind of what I grew up in.
Yeah,
it's not what a lot of people saw. So, Connor, if your perspective is 2020, 2021, it's probably crashing.
I mean, if anytime you can rip a Prism retail box, grade all the base cards and all the rookies and all the silvers, and make a ton of money off of it, that's not a thing. Like that's crazy that was a thing, right? When you think about it.
Oh, you were buying on Monday and selling on Thursday.
Yeah, you could buy Prism, rip it all, grade all the rookies. You could grade like a Kobe White PSA 10 was like $200 some. Like it's just
that's the same.
Yeah, you just can't print money like that right now. So if like you have to be smarter with what you're buying and how you're buying.
Yeah. Like for me, I've narrowed down on who am I thinking about. It's less of chance buys to me, or opportunity buys. I don't know what you want to call them.
Yeah.
Just for me, there's less of that. So, but I wouldn't say it's crashing at all. Joel, it's good to have you here. How do you feel about the UFC market? Do you buy, sell UFC? Sam?
Yeah, I do. I'm pretty selective with who I buy. It's actually the one sport or one of these sports that I follow very closely. It just hasn't quite hit hobby wise yet. There's a couple guys that are very popular. So like Conor McGregor, the guys that transcend really the sport. So, the most obvious name in all of sports is Michael Jordan, right? Completely transcends the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So with UFC, there's a couple of those guys. It's like Khabib, Nurmagomedov, and Conor McGregor are probably the two. But it's not really a sport you can prospect in. I mean, you kind of can, but a lot of those guys, it really depends on their matchups, and injuries are a big part of that sport.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, there's a couple of guys that like I was really high on, and I bought a couple of their cards, and then like I sort of saw the writing on the wall. I was like, it's probably not going to work out. So I ended up like selling their stuff, sort of before they got into the upper tier of the division. And so like, there's a couple guys right now, like Shavkat Rachmanov is one of them. So Bo Nichols, like the new big one. He's like a college champion wrestler who's had really impressive showings in the UFC. So there's a couple guys, but I wouldn't bet the house on them. Just card market's a little slow on UFC.
Connor says, but wax is still high, so it's not correct.
It's not as high as it was. I mean, Prism basketball this year is $600 a box. Last year it was $1,400. So not nearly as much.
I just think when we make these statements, though, Connor, just got to say this: it's all about perspective and when you say high, compared to what. And I think that Sam just answered, but whenever I hear people say certain things, it's like I remember when high was $150 a box.
Right. Well, and the other thing is too is like it's a double-edged sword because we want these things to be worth something, right? At least most people do.
Yes.
You want it to be a hobby, but you want it to have value because people would care a lot less. So for people desire the superfractors, right? They want the superfractors. Well, okay, if you take that same superfractor and you print 1 million of them and anyone can get one, all of a sudden nobody wants it, right?
True.
So I think it's the same thing as where it's like it has to have a certain value and a certain price point because otherwise the cards aren't worth anything and people don't want them. So they're like the scarcity has to be a thing, whether it's artificial or actual.
Absolutely right. From the bench, excuse me. Did I miss him? Hockey wax is still a decent price. There you go, Connor. How about 90s wax is high?
I guess it depends on what you're buying, yeah.
Yeah, what year? Who's in it?
Mm-hmm.
What rookies are around? What sport?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Disney 100 cards?
I'm not familiar with them, to be honest with you. I've seen some boxes of them. I've not seen them opened. I am fascinated with the Cockawall cards. Have you seen those?
No.
Those are cool. They're kind of similar. They're like these. I mean, they call them silvers, but there's like refractors, and then there's like facsimile autos of different characters. So, for example, some guy at the show the other weekend had a Minnie Mouse auto, numbered to 100. It's like a $500 card. So those are cool. The Disney 100 cards I need to look more into, but I've heard it's a really cool product. So is it a Japanese product?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the Kakawa is as well. And I can't remember exactly what it's from, but it's Disney 100 Years of Wonder is what it's called. I'm going to post a link for you in our little chat here.
All right.
You can check it out. But the cards are really beautiful looking. It's one of those where, like, if I could get like a silver set, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. And they're very like limited too. Like the print run's very limited.
I'm asking these questions because I'm always a proponent of people buying what they like and what they're interested in, and it's not just a sports talk. There's a lot of stuff going on that people could be interested in, and if you are, I support it.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about Wemby. We were talking about Wemby earlier a little bit.
Uh-huh.
What kind of impact do you think he's going to have in the hobby if he does this thing, pans out, works?
I mean, even if it doesn't pan out, it's gonna be crazy for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Chet Holmgren, right? I'd argue he's the second biggest name in the rookie class.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play a single minute last year. I mean, can you imagine this kid? I mean, it doesn't matter what he does this year.
Well, tomorrow we find out who's drafting him.
Yes, that's true.
Tomorrow,
hopefully the Pacers.
Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting for?
The Pacers, man.
Oh, okay.
Could you imagine the
I'm
Pacers?
tell you the truth. I'm actually rooting for San Antonio Spurs. I think Pop will take care of that guy.
I think Pop's going to retire soon. They've done enough winning. We need to share the wealth in the winning department.
Pop just knows how to take care of those big guys.
He does. I don't think he's gonna rip it up right away.
I need to.
Yeah, I mean, because we've seen people like him before. There's always Wembenyama's, right? There's the Tyrus Thomas, Anthony Randolph, Giannis to a certain extent was kind of like a similar thing. Like we've seen the tall, skinny guy who has all this potential, right? I guess we haven't seen it in terms of how big he is and his skill level, but it's if he does dominate, it's not going to be right away. It's never right away. I just
believe, Sam, that most players are going to have that ramp up period.
Yes.
The LeBron James who comes in, who's averaging 20-something a game and keeps rolling with that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very rare. We really haven't seen that. You may not ever see it again for a long time. But the guy who takes maybe 4 or 5 seasons to really start showing you who he is, and maybe he comes in at 19, and by the time he's 25, 26, which would be 7 seasons in, this guy's legit.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're going to see.
Yeah. And, I also worry about his body. Just, I mean, supporting that frame. We've kind of seen it too with Bull. Bull is probably the most similar to him. Just in terms of the frame and stuff, and you just kind of see it's he can do some crazy stuff, but he also gets lost on defense. He gets pushed around a lot, and he's not very durable. So it's going to take a minute. I don't think he's just going to step in right away and just crush everyone. I just don't see that happening. In fact, I think Chet's going to have a better season than him next year.
Well, Wemby signed his first card for Fanatics today. Pitchers went around.
Yes, that's the Bowman. That's the Bowman, the first Bowman. Yeah.
Well, he inscribed. This is the first card I've ever signed.
I know. Can you imagine how much that card is going to sell for?
Crazy.
It's going to be $1 million card. Yeah. I guarantee it.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just him signing that card like that, those boxes probably went up 50 to 100%.
I agree. So my question was when I first saw the picture today, does that card hold, and none of us, I don't think we really know the answer to this. Does that card hold sustainable dollar amounts over time because of the jersey that he's in, even with that inscription after the other product comes out?
I think so. I think that's arguably his best card ever.
Okay. I can't argue it either way.
I for me, it would be. That's the coolest thing in the world. It's the first card he ever signs. For a true collector, I don't see how that can be. You can have a more valuable asset.
We'll see soon what it sells at.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be. I mean, the breakers are going to just rip that product to shreds looking for that thing. Yeah, they are.
Oh yeah, they are. Smart.
100%.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the picture.
And Caitlin Clark also has autos in this set.
Oh yeah, man. People are gonna be looking for that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a big set. I also love college sports. So the fact that they made these Bowman U products is just, it makes me very happy because I love Bowman. I just love the look of it. and then you get the college stuff, and it's the first autos. And I believe these are also on card if he's signing them in person.
Yeah, I think that it was on card.
So the football ones are not.
The entire width of the card.
Yeah, so the football ones are sticker, but if these are on card, that's huge. Like that's a total game changer in terms of the value.
And the picture on the card was great.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have these cards where the pictures are like, who picked that? That picture was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I get into that. Let's see what else. What we got here. Big John says, how do you balance your card research? This is a good question. And turn it into execution, because you always hear about, hey, do your research. But how do you start making moves on that research?
Yeah, so for me, it's just kind of like a lot of it's trial and error. I've tried a lot of different things. I've tried different ways of buying stuff. I've tried different means of selling. I've tried grading a lot. I've tried selling low end. I've tried getting into high end. I've tried trading up, trading down. I've tried a bunch of stuff. So, and I'm still trying different things. It's just a lot of it's just kind of what you have time for and what you have capabilities of doing. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just try different things and find what you enjoy the most.
I agree. I can agree with that. For me, it's always, and I can still be wrong. All of us can. If we're talking about sports, I got to watch the sport.
Yeah, that's true.
I got to see that player, not just that they scored 21, but are they averaging points because they're DeAndre Jordan and some point guards throwing them out of oops? Or are they creating the shots themselves? What are they doing?
Yeah.
What kind of offense do they run? Do they match up and fit that offense? Who is the coach? Do they play defense? Is that going to get them on the floor early? Or are they a shooter and the system allows for them to shoot? Like, so if they're playing with the Houston Rockets, not much defense is being played, but can they score? Those are the kind of things that I just look for on a regular basis. And then whose game is kind of sustainable? We don't know because of injury sometimes, but we do kind of know because of how they create things for themselves or where they're at in the system. If they're a small point guard, do they take a lot of contact? Are they on the floor a lot? Like Michael Jordan told Dwayne Wade, you got to get off the floor or you're going to put your career down. And Dwayne Wade tried to get off the floor, but his career was shorter than some other people because he was always hitting the ground. So
yep.
Those are the kind of things that I just look for to see like what's going on. And then you still never know because market conditions may be one where at one point you could think you're collecting a Dwayne Wade. His cars are going to do this, but it doesn't even compare to what LeBron James has going on. So
yeah, I mean, two things. So I love what you said about watching the sports because I can't tell you how many just uneducated conversations I've had with people that buy and sell sports cards. They just have no idea what they're talking about. Like, just no idea. They don't even know who the players are, what teams they play for. I don't know how you can buy and sell stuff when you don't know anything about what you're buying and selling. To me, it makes no sense. But also, you're talking about like longevity and how they can transfer their game, and I just got to bring up my guy Tyrese Halliburton. The guy is going to be a player in this league for 20 years because he can do everything. He almost never hits the ground, like you said. He's a really great 3-point shooter. He's an elite playmaker. I mean, he's one of those guys who, like, at the end of his career, he's going to be standing in the corner shooting threes.
I agree with that.
You know, and so like I think if you're looking at long-term investing, you got to look at longevity and staying power and like who can be a winning piece on a championship team.
And to me, he's the example that I talk about all the time, that if you only went by where they were drafted, it would be easy to predict this.
Yep.
But Halliburton is a guy who got on the team, and you're going to see more of this, even what we saw with Shea. You get on the team, maybe you don't fit with that team once you get traded. That doesn't mean that you're a horrible player. You go someplace else and you still contribute, and then you start growing. He made his first All-Star team this year. That's a guy that I watch. But
James Harden.
That's right. A lot of people want to talk about LaMelo Ball, though. They want to talk about Halliburton. And Halliburton may have a much better career.
Halliburton's arguably the best player in that class.
Yes.
It's between him and Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards is not an elite shooting guard. Halliburton is probably the best point guard in the league.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about pure point guard.
And then the only question I have about Halliburton, he has a flat
jumper.
Will that change?
Okay, so I've heard
I
him.
think that needs to change.
Yeah, so I've heard him interviewed about it. His coaches don't want to change his shot. What they are trying to change is they're trying to change how quick he can get into and out of it.
So that's what, because when we
Yeah.
get to playoff basketball and we get deep, this is what I think about with this guy. We get deep into it. That shot is at a low trajectory.
Right.
So more probability of getting blocked, different things happening. That's the only thing I think about with Halliburton. How does that work out? He'll work it out because I think he has a work ethic.
Yeah. He's also a good kid too. Because I also really like investing in players that I think are good people.
So do I. Yep.
So like Giannis is probably my favorite player in the NBA. Just I'm not a fan of that team, but he's just a good person.
I agree.
And Halliburton's in that same vein. He's just like a good dude. Cares about his community. He's well spoken, which is one of the reasons why I really like Anthony Richardson too for the Colts, because he just seems like a great kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I can always root for people like that. What I can't root for is John Morant. You know what I mean?
Well, I tell people this. I don't own a Ja Morant card. It's just certain things about Ja that even before any of this went down, if this would have never went down, it's just certain things about him that I look at and I've always had questions on.
Yeah.
I've always had questions. His demeanor on the court, how he's talking about stuff, how he does an interview. I've looked at this since he was a rookie. How he carries himself on the court, the pushing and the shoving in excess of different people. I think he had something with the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, somebody pointed a gun at their convoy or something.
Yeah, so they got
a laser. It was a laser pointer or something.
They got into it on the court because I was watching that game that night. A little pushing and shoving. Hey man, don't touch me. All of that stuff, and then there's a laser pointer at someone.
Yeah,
that you say never happened, but it's such an intricate story that who makes that up?
Yeah.
Who's saying that? Yeah, Sam's whole party was pointing a beam at me. Like, who's saying that? If it never really happened. So there's just certain things about him that.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, he hangs out with a bunch of bozos that he doesn't need to hang out with. And it's just like your life changes when when you make that much money playing a sport and you have that much fame. And unfortunately, he's just been surrounded by people that are not helping him. And I'm rooting for him. I'm not rooting against him, but as far as myself, I'm never touching his cards again. Ever, not once.
What do you think of LaMelo Ball?
Talented player. Not sure he's a championship guy. I don't think he's a winner. He strikes me as a me guy.
Well, this next year is going to be crucial.
Yeah, that team's a disaster too.
LaMelo Ball, this is going to be crucial for him.
Yeah, I mean with the the whole Miles Bridges situation, and
that was crazy.
Yeah, that team is just such a mess. It's hard to.
And what's funny is Bridges is back, reinstated. We'll see who signs him, what happens.
Yeah, the Hornets aren't going to sign him.
No.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing I worry about Ja. I don't know if the guy's ever going to play in the NBA ever again. I really believe that.
Well, I think he'll probably get a half-season suspension, and then we'll see what happens after that. But this
is a pattern. I mean,
he was hurt playoff time last year. He's hurt this year playoff time. Next year, he's probably going to miss half the season.
And he's got all this off-the-court baggage, too.
Like, what's going on?
Who wants to deal with that? Yeah.
Getting the gym. Now, his commercials show that he's got a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday parking space. And he's in that gym handling work. So, I mean, that's what the commercials show. Well, if he's in that gym handling work, right, he ain't got time for nothing else.
No.
They should make a commercial on what Ja really does.
Yeah. I don't know if they should or not.
Ja really getting down.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We will see. From the bench, people buying, investing in the big names they see on YouTube, IG, but never watch them play a single down. Never understood it.
I don't understand it either.
I don't know if it's just to have to be involved. I don't know, but I don't want to put dollars on something that I don't know.
I will say that I have kind of dabbled into stuff that I don't really have much knowledge on. Like I've dabbled into like baseball prospects, even though I don't know much about it. It's more just to like understand it than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So like I bought a couple small Pokemon cards. I bought a couple like first Bowman baseball prospects, just to kind of like figure it out. Right. That's different than just like, I don't know who Michael Porter Jr. plays for, but I'm going to buy a National Treasures auto. It's
And I'm
like,
also
what?
going to buy this $5,000 car.
Yeah. It's like, what are
But
you,
there's
what,
people
what
out
are you
there
doing?
making moves like that. We're not talking about, I'm just going to, I'm going to pick up this car. I'm talking about, I know some people who have put significant dollars. So maybe it's significant for me and not for them. Could be.
Yeah.
Into something
I
that
have no clue about.
you started asking them about it. And they'll quickly tell you, oh, well, so-and-so told me this was.
Yeah, well, so-and-so has probably got an agenda.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Feed the bench. I came on here a year ago and told you the LaMelo prices didn't make sense. LOL. Kids' prices were stupid high. They were. But he was never going to be a Hall of Famer and even a first-team All-NBA guy. Make it make sense. I mean, he does well on Instagram, taking pictures in convenience stores, showing his new teeth. That's what he does.
I mean, he's got a little bit of the like off the court kind of fame stuff, but for me, it's not a positive thing. Just I don't care for that family very much. Just I don't really like the father that much. I mean, he's done like amazing things for his family, and like he deserves credit for that.
Hey, I'd say he's the Don King of young NBA players.
Yeah,
he's a hype man.
Yeah, but he draws attention to himself and them, in my opinion, in a negative way.
He does.
But that being said, I think LaMelo's a talented player. I mean, I saw him play twice last year in Indiana, and like, I think he put up a triple double the second time, and like, he's a talented player, right? But he just like the way he contributes. I'm not sure he contributes at a championship level.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to really need to change his game, particularly defensively, to really become a winning player.
He has no interest in defense, right?
Oh, I know, but if he wants to win championships, he needs to. Like he could, I could see him being like the third best player on a championship team. But in order to do that, he needs to improve his shooting. He needs to improve his defense, and he needs to improve like just not being a jackass. Basically.
Oh, that's another guy I hope his body can hold up. When you break your ankle on a crossover move in open air, and your brother has probably career-ending knee problems.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know about that. And I always, we've talked on here before. When you're a guy who physically, your thigh is the same circumference as your calf. I mean, I don't know.
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll see over time, but
yeah.
What do you think about the immediate future of the hobby? I know we talked a little bit about shows and what we're seeing, but what do you see as we approach 2024?
Well, I think that it's becoming more accessible for people, which is a good thing. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with Fanatics and the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the local card shops are worried about it, just based on, I've expressed this opinion before. Is I think they are taking the wrong stance on how to get people into the hobby. It seems to me that their stance on how to get people into the hobby is through breaking. I think they've made that pretty clear that that's what they believe. I think that is incorrect. I think that breaking is gambling. It's pure degenerate gambling, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to get people into a hobby is to have a positive community of people and good mentors. And I couldn't think of something that would turn someone off more than if they paid $200 for the Orlando Magic in a break, and the best card that they hit is a second-year Jalen Suggs Silver Prism.
Let me ask a tough question that probably no one else will ask. At least I haven't heard anybody else ask. If you have a good community, positive spirits, and you do things to bring in a positive way children into the hobby, you make money doing that?
Oh yeah.
Do you?
Oh yeah. 100%. My so my local card shop has, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe they have over 2,000 kids signed up for their kids club. And just the other day, they did like their first ever kids club event, and they had over 500 kids there with their parents.
How long did it take to build up that 2,000?
I have no idea. I'd have to ask him.
I
mean, I go to this card shop all the time, like probably once every couple weeks. So not all the time, but once every couple weeks. Every time I'm in there, there's at least, and I'm usually there for around 15 to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
There's at least 10 to 20 sets of kids with parents that come in there and buy something from the card shop.
I feel like breaking. I don't know if I've ever broken this down on this show. Is the immediate impulse buy. It's like when I was a kid and you kick back at home and you watch a home shopping club. And there's a toaster that will turn itself off when it makes your 2 pieces of toast. And you're like, I gotta have that. My toaster, I gotta get up and monitor the toast, but I can set a timer and it'll pop up. I gotta have that. So then you call in, use your credit card. I'm taking you way back. And I got to get that right now. Then you get it home, you never use it.
Yeah.
So it's that impulse, like I gotta get this. I gotta be on this. I'm missing out. I got FOMO going on. So it definitely is going to prompt a sale in the immediate short term. And it's going to generate funds. And this is how we're going to grow the hobby.
But is it gonna create return customers?
No, it may not.
I mean, if they don't get a hit, it's not.
Or if they don't get a hit, just like a casino, we know they're coming back.
Maybe.
We know we're gonna want that dopamine to kick in again.
It's true.
We know we're gonna want that. We gotta have it, baby. We gotta have
That's true. But like I hate that though.
I hate it too. Man, I don't break cards. I mean, I don't rip packs. I don't buy boxes.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I think, Sam, we are the I don't want to use the right word. We are the atypical.
Yeah.
Individuals, males and females in the hobby that are thinking through processes of how we want to operate and what we do and probably don't do, and maybe some things we've done in the past. I used to open boxes 20 years ago. I'll close the door on that. I target what cards, what players I want. I try to be as focused as possible now. If you'd have talked to me about that in the early 2000s, late 1990s, I've been like, what are you talking about? This is the way that I've only known to do this. So I just know that even from making content, a lot of the times I'm talking about something that I can get comments from people. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Like, what are you talking about? You don't rip. What are you talking about? You don't really get into a break. What are you talking about? You don't get on whatnot. What are you talking about? You don't. I'm kind of bringing modern day hobbyism with a mix of throwback to the game, and people are like, what are you talking about, man? So that just tells me that there's another mindset today. And then we're in this social media age where everything's instant. It has to be right now. It has to be right now. So when I hear Connor say the market sucks, it tells me that you're not used to that growth, that development of a player, that understanding of who they are as a player and where their career may go and the trajectory of their career. You're interested, or you came in at a time when you were buying on Monday and selling on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it goes back to breaking.
Yeah.
And then who are the people what's the demographic of the people that are involved in this? What's their age group? How much disposable income do they have? Do they have children? Because those that I've seen even making content that are married, in relationships with children, are making different content and there's no judgment here, people.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
For real, than those who are grabbing the camera and saying, I'm about to go do this, and then this is what I'm doing in the content.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's kind of the mix and the match of the hobby. That's kind of what's going on right now.
I just strongly believe that we need to have person-to-person interaction to make a hobby sustainable.
Because Sam, that's what I came into.
Yeah.
That's what the hobby was. I need to talk to people. I got to know Sam Rothstein.
Right.
Or have a conversation with you. It's not just about, oh, I see this card on your table. It's 200. Okay, here's 200, and I walk away, and I don't know anything about you. And I talk about all the time, not just knowing the gems that's on the table, but who are the gems that are walking around.
Right.
We should. You in Indy right now. I'm in LA. We've had conversations about stuff and talked about stuff and shared stuff, and we'll do more of that. I would think that's what the hobby is about. Somebody else may think something else.
Yeah. And I see very limited interaction of, okay, let me buy into this break and then it shows up in my house and then what do you do with it?
Agree.
Right. You can pretend to know the breaker, I guess, but like, what is, I don't know.
I agree.
So I think it's the wrong stance. And we'll see how it plays out. I could be totally wrong here. I just think we need to support the central, either whether it's card shows or the national or local shops. We need to find a way to maintain support for them. And it's not because I want them to make money. It's because I think it's the way to maintain someone's interest in it.
I agree. I don't disagree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just talk to people and I start hearing something else. So
I know what you're talking about too. It's like I don't have that. I'm not a very high risk individual, so like breaks and that aspect of the hobby doesn't appeal to me very much.
Doesn't appeal to me either at all. I don't really dive into that.
Yeah.
We talked about the national. Are you attending the national this year?
That is the plan. Yes. So
damn, there you
go.
Go.
So I'm planning on going hopefully Wednesday through Friday.
Okay.
Mainly just to avoid the Saturday crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've heard the best days are Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. I heard those are the best days for buying.
That's a good day. Yeah.
And I talked to a friend the other day. He said Fridays are really great if you can stay overnight on Friday because that's when like people hang out.
That is when people hang out.
Yeah. So
a lot of people arrive in the town. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I haven't totally planned it out yet, and I haven't passed it with the boss yet, but I'm sure she'll be totally great because she is. But I think I'm probably going to drive up on Wednesday. It's in Chicago, so it's about 3 hours away. Drive up Wednesday morning, check into the hotel, stay over Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Friday, Saturday, and then head home on Saturday.
We're going to come. We'll be there definitely Friday and Saturday.
Gotcha. We'll have to connect on Friday then.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, I'll definitely be hitting you up.
Yeah, for sure.
See what's going on. Should be fun. We came 2 years ago. And we had just started a channel. So there are a lot of people that I talked to that attended that show that I didn't personally see or talk to. I think this time will be a little bit different. There's a lot more people that we know, like yourself, that will hit up, let you know when we arrive and meet up with you and talk, take pictures, things like that. See what's going on, with the vibe, see what's going on.
Yeah, sounds good. I had originally planned on going. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No, I'm saying it's going to be like a big family reunion, man. It's gonna be
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, I'd originally planned on going up like early and going every day and like posting a video every day, but I figured out that probably wasn't going to be tenable, just based on how busy the days were going to be and just some logistic issues. So I think just going there for a couple days and just feeling it out because I've never been. So
you're gonna have fun, man.
Yeah, and a lot of my friends are going too. So
yeah, you're gonna have fun, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk to people, it was like, yeah, I've never been to the national, but you're not going to be able to say that for long.
Right.
You'll be in the mix.
That's right.
Well, Sam, it's always a pleasure having you on here, talking to you about stuff, getting your perspective. I always love you attend shows and kind of in a different market, and you're very active, successful at what you do. So I always like to get your perspective on what you're seeing. It's a pleasure having you here, man.
Appreciate you having me on, man. I really enjoy speaking with you, and looking forward to seeing you at the national. And are you going to go to Burbank as well in August? Okay,
September. Yeah.
I'm considering that one as well. That'd be really fun to go to that one.
I love that show. I think
that one's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, man. It's going to be something else. I know they like to shy away from comparisons to the national so much, but that thing is going to be
800 tables.
Yes, 800 tables is going to be a West Coast Giants show.
I don't know how big the one we went to was, but it was maybe 150 tables. It was not big. It wasn't big at all. So,
no. But even at that time, I thought I even told some people we'll talk about, hey, the show started in Burbank and then it went to Ontario, and by the time we get to Anaheim, you'll say, remember that first show?
Yeah, right.
And this thing is going to grow even bigger than it'll probably take up more than Anaheim Convention Center after this.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they're working on something right now to know that once the show is over with, make an announcement about what's going on next.
Cool.
And I think it's so cool that when you can tell people there's like the national, when the dates are going to be. Right now, we know the next 2 nationals, what the dates are.
Mm-hmm.
Plan for. When Burbank does that, it sets it as a destination. Someone can put it on their calendar and work towards it.
Yeah, for sure.
Close if you need to fly, whatever you need to do. And that's what makes it exciting because now it's a destination show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, before we get out of here, Sam, you saw the intro, brother.
I did.
Sam, you got to let people know who you're rolling with.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate you, man. Tell your wife that we said hello over here.
I will.
I hope all is well. I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, actually.
Yeah, and pass on my greetings as well.
Will do, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, brother.
Yep, I'll take you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.